Welcome back. Ned Weatherly, Hammer Champ, 3 times in a row.
3 times, yep. 3 times in a row.
Big deal.
21, 22, 23.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. We're doing 24?
I took a break, 24. Work got in the way, but that's, I guess, what we're going back to what we were talking about.
I literally gave you a pillow and you've already whacked it. You're at 1 at 25
We've never had
seconds.
a thump from the pillow before.
Yeah. 25 seconds in,
Yes.
we've already had a whack. Man, don't make me get you another pillow. We're just because I'll gaffer tape them to you. That'd actually be a pretty good thumbnail.
The podcast.
Yeah, you'd be like Edward Scissorhands, but we'll have just taping pillows to him.
Wedgwood pillow hands.
It is very on brand though for a Neanderthal hammer thrower.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's very true. But no, 20.
Ignore this one.
Oh, okay.
Just unless Malibu Malibu wants to.
Are you cheating?
Well,
Mark's not even. He's in Bali.
I think you have to declare any cheating on the show just so that you can be called out by
Yeah, but Mark's
ambassadors.
actually in Bali getting married, so he's gotten out of office. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Well.
I'm also open to.
Should we have
Malibu?
Should he make like a vodka savvy can, or would they not? Would they not go together?
If he does that, I'll fly to Byron Bay tonight.
And physically can't make that happen.
I don't know. I haven't thought that far away.
If he flies, I will be a pig. What? Just random statements that we're going on with now that will never happen and can't happen.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got the hourglass going again.
By the way, nobody
I'm
should
on
drink
time,
Malibu. I don't know what's happening over there.
It's a pina colada.
It's okay.
It's very on brand jumper you're wearing.
We tried to get sheepdog whiskey.
Well, what happened? We got cancelled by them today.
I don't know.
We don't know. We can't. Say
We
too
should
much.
probably not can them just before we work out why
we
they
still
didn't.
we still love their
Oh,
whiskey.
sheepdog whiskey, I love you.
Never had sheepdog whiskey, but
Mate, I'll be honest
if
with
I
you.
was running this podcast,
If you got put up on a story and an hour later you were taken down, though, would you be concerned?
Yeah, probably.
We're not getting sponsored, which is a shame because I really enjoy
Cancel
sheepdog
culture is a
whiskey.
big thing in 2024, so.
Cancel. Mate, look, to be fair, we'll do a reach out. We'll see what happened.
No,
It's going to be an ongoing thing. So now we've got 1-star review. You know, one of the boys from the Average Joe said it was him, and he was going to ruin it for me. But I mean, it might be him, but I doubt it. But yeah, what we got? We got the 1-star review boy. Now we've got sheepdog whiskey. We're going after.
Yeah.
They probably took it down so they could do a better post tomorrow or something.
Yeah, it'll be for better or worse. we'll offer a public apology to sheepdog whiskey.
I've been talking about like not getting sponsored and like how crap it is. And after being on this podcast, I got a feeling maybe I won't be sponsored.
Yeah, you still won't be sponsored yet.
Well, during the break, we were talking about coercing you into a grassroots sponsored shot at the Olympics. So
Wow.
True, the Olympics.
Yeah.
Get around him.
Yeah.
what? I'm not a big sports fan. When and where are like the next Olympics and what's
Pretty
coming
sure
up?
they're this year, aren't they?
Yeah, this year. Yeah.
It's a leap year.
in Paris. So
Okay.
I won't be going to those.
That ship's out.
That shift well and truly so. So basically, like what you need to do is just for those listening at home. So as an open athlete, my personal best is like 69 meters 44. Yes, 69.
Hey.
So
For everybody who's over 15, sorry.
yeah, I'm still 12 at heart. But to actually qualify, so I've thrown 69.44. So to qualify, it's not like you need to back in like what you may have thought about like athletics. Like you need to throw a qualifying distance or run a qualifying time or jump a qualifying distance or height. What it is it's like now based so World Athletics came out with like this point system, and it's basically the top 32 athletes in the world will with the most amount of points, and the points are based on like your best throw, like an average of your best 5 throws at big championships, if that makes sense. So say if I was to throw at like the Lara Sports Club and throw my best throw ever, and then I was to throw 3 meters less at the European champ, or not the European champ, like at a IAAF or World Athletics Grand Prix meet, the throw that's 3 meters less at the world,
So it's just at competition.
at the bigger competition is going to get you more points. So I think it's more rewarding performing at bigger competitions. So I kind of give this analogy, and this may be way off, and this may be a bit of a pipe dream, but I think if I was to throw like 74 to 75 meters, so it's 6 meters on my personal best, which is a lot, but that's my competition personal best. My training personal best is probably 72 meters. So I'm talking about an improvement of about 3 to 4 meters, which is still a lot, but you don't peak as a hammer thrower until you're probably in your 30s. So it's a long game sport. So I'm 26 now. I've still got time.
Okay.
If I was to throw that at the Oceania Championships, I would that would bolster my points, and I may get a Guernsey. So I always, when people ask me about it, I kind of just scoff and just go, I'll never make it. But if I was actually to be kind of objective about it and go if I was to do this and this and this and this, I might actually qualify. And look, I probably need to do things a bit differently. It's hard. I work full time. I travel a lot for work. But if I was actually to get into a routine, be disciplined on be more so disciplined on myself, eat better, sleep properly, I don't think there would be much that would actually stop me from getting to that kind of goal area and maybe getting a berth. But I would probably let's say if I go to the Olympics with a 75-meter throw, I'd be very lucky to make a final or whatever. But I don't think it's about, for me, like I said, it's about my passion about the sport. It's about my love for it. And if I could be like a story that I went to the Olympics, I might have come 15th or something like that. There's a lot of people that wouldn't ever be able to say that. So there's a lot of people that aren't able to say they're an Australian champion.
Or a state champ.
Yeah, exactly.
So does that mean on the point system, you could potentially be the best in Australia but still not get to go to the Olympics?
Yeah, I was literally going to ask that.
So what there's no more Eddie the Eagle kind of thing? Was that a different system when that stuff was happening?
Nah, it doesn't happen. It's so... I don't think so. I don't think there's been a hammer thrower an Australian representative hammer thrower at the Olympics since don't quote me on this, maybe 2000 or 2004. And I think we've had one male make the final, but he
That's got to be a campaign behind that to get a hammer thrower back to the Olympics.
Oh, we'll get our 8 listeners behind it.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to actually have to start training properly again. But no. I'm just
you can train. You can train with Caruana.
Yes,
he's training for the Far East calendar. So,
will some gold coin donations get you there? Or
maybe a bit short, maybe here and there.
Do they even accept real currencies anymore? Or are we? Sorry, I put a tinfoil hat on again.
Who controls the currencies?
So you'd have to have, so it's a strategy. You'd have to go to the right events and try and aggregate a good score with the smartest events over that time period.
If I was to be full on let's say 2028, the Los Angeles Olympics 4 years from now, if I was to be really okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make this, I'm going to be a Cinderella story and I'm going to make this, I would probably be training up until maybe 2027 and at the back end of 2027 leading into 2028, I would compete at the state championships, a Grand Prix meet in Australia or a track classic meet in Australia because they get more points, the national championships, the Oceania championships, and then I'd probably go over to Europe and try and compete in some of those competitions over there. And I'd have to train it and work out my peak. So there is training programs that you can do where you will start okay, bottom out at halfway through the training program, and then you'll slowly peak up again. I'd have to be working training around getting there and getting to the right meets and throwing the right distances at the right meets, which is a lot of pressure.
How much would this be looking at costing you?
If I was to go
to train Europe, for the Olympics?
If I was to be fair income about it now with petrol, equipment, shoes, nutrition, travel, I'd probably from now to then probably 40 grand.
Right.
That's a low ball estimate. I don't know. Pardon?
Sheepdog whiskey.
No,
I've got no idea how big
no. I'm not. Like I said, I'm not here for the sponsors or anything. I'm just.
No, you're not.
I'm trying to be as real as possible.
Alan and I are literally useless at everything else, so we just try and network.
No, I love it.
Yeah, there's a bit of a changing trend now too, where some brands are breaking down their sponsorship money to give a lower amount to more people.
Yeah.
Because it probably what you spoke about before, it resonates more with people than just having. Obviously, you're going to have your Usain Bolt sponsored, but none of us are ever going to, try and do what he does.
So 40Ks from now to 2028?
That's a rough estimate. That's literally just off the top of my head, maybe.
Yeah.
Could be less, could be more.
Yeah. But that'd be over the 4 years. That's not each year. It's going to cost you 40K.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. That would be over the 4 years. So, yeah. So I don't know. I've really just pulled that out of my ass. That's just a guess, roughly. Yeah.
But it's not $1 million campaign.
No.
It's like if I was to go to Optus and go, hey, Ned wants to go to the Olympics in 4 years' time. It's going to cost you 4.8 mil.
Yeah.
That'd be like cool story.
Yeah, they would
for a potential not to have it. Yeah. But like, like if somebody was going to give you 10K over the years,
yeah.
I mean, 10K individually for each person,
it's a lot of money.
Is a lot.
What's the coffee though, Besso? We'd have to have a little viral hook where there was some hammer throwing with that brand associated or something, and a bit of fun, some fun videos or something. And
obviously it's also a gamble because Ned might choke at some point, get injured, do whatever else it is. But like it's a chance to then be on the story where you go from Ned Weatherly, bloke on a podcast with 7 listeners, to Ned Weatherly, the bloke who's now the Australian world champ, who's doing whatever. So it's I mean you're paying for the story, you're paying for and you'll probably find that like as a AFL player, right? Like they're already getting paid bank anyway, so their sponsorship deal is more all about them. Whereas if Ned's going from being a person who's not sponsored at all, who's looking at paying 40K to just try and get himself to the Olympics, I dare say the brand loyalty that you'd get from a person who's literally going to have to pay for everything themselves, drive themselves everywhere, get up at 4, go to bed late and whatever just to do the training, you're probably going to get a lot more out of. So I just wonder if there's companies out there that...
Well, you mentioned the marathon runner before. Was it marathon?
Yeah, marathon runner. Yeah. I forget his name.
So these sort of campaigns, obviously they've happened, but it just, it's lining people up and getting a brand that's interested.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And look, I think I've kind of just resonated with the fact that it like, for the most part, it probably won't happen. And I'm not saying don't sponsor me. Like, if there's anyone that would like to sponsor me, go for your life. But I also, in a way, kind of like the whole amateur athlete kind of thing. And like, I like that grassroots thing of like, I work 9 to 5, then I go out and train, and I'm still able to fund my way, but it's with my own money that I'm earning. Don't get me wrong. Like, if there was someone that would like to be part of that journey and like support me on that way, on the way of like being a full time, someone that works full time and is an athlete, like I would welcome it. But I also like the idea of just that grassroots, just trying my best.
Everybody wants that feel good story about the dude who does it in his own time and then gets ahead, and that's fine. But if you're literally competing against dudes who have a nutritionist, who have all the time in the world to train, they have doctors, they have all this sort of stuff.
Yeah,
like the reality of what you're competing against is so far now. If you're not getting the backing, you're not going to really compete. It's like footy players back in the day were working 9 to 5, but they would also train, but they were they were just the everyman who was actually putting in a little bit extra.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas now they're not working.
No,
like they're full time, they're athletes, they've got doctors, they've told how to train. And that's why they're so far ahead of what the footy players were back in the day.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we all, like we don't watch weekend footy versus, watching Channel 10 or whatever else it is. So it's like it's a lovely thing to have, the amateur dude did this and did that. But if you got paid enough sponsorship wise that you could then be part-time, what would you be throwing? Like you'd be so far ahead because it's not as hard for you.
Yeah, true.
So the story's not as amazing on the outcome if you're a full-time paid for athlete because, but as an actual performance, if you want to win a gold medal in the world, like you need to be getting as much as you can. So
look, if I wanted to be a gold medalist, I'd have to quit my job and do it full-time and take a gamble on it. I'd be lying if I said I haven't thought about that, but I probably... I'm not necessarily going to say I'm going to be a gold medalist in the men's Olympic hammer throw, but if I was to be an Olympian, no. But in all seriousness, if I was to be an Olympian, like I have kind of accepted the fact that I would have, like my work would have to, I'd have to sacrifice some form of my work, whether that be go part time, whether that be changing shifts, whatever it is. I would have to sacrifice some part of my work and maybe not perform as well in my job as I do in my athletics. And you know what? When I'm 80 years old, what I really want to be telling someone that I was really good at my job, or was I really good at athletics? Like I don't know. I'm still working that out.
I'll give you the tip. If you were going to look back and say you had the option of saying, I went part-time so I could compete in the Olympic Games versus I didn't go part-time so I could work my job.
Well, I've worked it out as if I'm like, I didn't go part-time so I could work my job. I will be like every typical bloke that watches the Olympics and like when the...
Could have been.
when the soccer comes on, they're like, oh yeah, I represented my school, and then I was like, I could have gone pro with it. Like, I think everyone has
it's
that.
literally me versus Steve Hooker, where he beat me every year in high jump, so I never do it.
Yeah, but he's a pole vaulter, so maybe you're still better
But at the time,
So he was still better at his second best sport.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, correct.
yeah, well, we didn't have hammer.
Steve Hooker dominated Burso, but
He did, mate. He did. But the thing that was funny was he literally was like the best.
Yes.
So it's like when you have that person that you compete against, and then it turns out they end up being like, an Olympian, wins gold medals. You're like, well, maybe I could have done something. But that's the thing is, I'll never know because I never had a crack at it.
Yeah, true.
And I can guarantee you, it's like a lot of army dudes that you'll speak to who thought about going SF and never did. And it's like they'll always think, oh, maybe this and that. And it's like, well, you don't know, so. That's going to be always a bigger regret than if you tried and you failed.
Yeah. Well, it's actually funny you say that. I'll bring that back to the army because when I was 18, I was like, I'm going to join the army. That was my big thing. But then I didn't because I wanted to do my. Yeah, correct. I'm like every guy that's just like, oh yeah, I applied for the army, and like whenever some like vet talks about like their experience in the army, I never applied. I wanted to, but I wanted to do athletics, and I'm probably very grateful that I did athletics because I think like. I would have had some stories about being in the army, but I did athletics and I've got to where I am probably because I've stayed home and did that
definitely.
Athletics.
And the thing is, you can still like your athletics journey can still be the Olympics.
Yeah,
and that's like I've done the army thing.
Yeah,
I guarantee you, if we were sitting around telling worries about stuff, and I'd be like, oh, I was at the Cry with a wet t-shirt competition, and you're like, oh, I went to the Olympics as an athlete, walked out into the thing in front of thousands of people. I guarantee you, which one's a better story.
Yeah.
The wet t-shirt competition.
Yeah.
But like anybody can do that. You just go down the cry. It's not a big deal.
Yeah,
well, it's closed now. But like if you've got a thing where you've got a dream that you're going for,
Yeah.
it's like, mate, I can guarantee you will regret more not doing it.
Yeah.
And just doing the same stuff everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
100%.
But I think that comes back to that imposter syndrome thing. Is like I don't see myself as like that elite athlete that can be an Olympian. I honestly just see myself as like everyday wed who works, likes hanging out with his mates, plays video games, does every kind of normal mid-20s bloke thing and happens to just be good at this sport. And it's got probably if in all honesty, speaking about stuff like, oh, like I could possibly go to the Olympics, it is kind of quite daunting and scary to me.
Well, yeah, because then you have to try and potentially fail.
Oh, you got to be vulnerable. Vulnerable. That's the whole thing. It's like,
and even asking for sponsors and stuff.
Yeah,
it's like, well, if you don't believe in it, it's like, how can I ask somebody else to back me to do it?
Oh, 100%.
And you look at these people.
Ironically, I think that's what makes you the most marketable. What you've just said then, it's like because it's different. It would make an interesting campaign. Like instead of showing you training all the time, it's like a clip of you playing video games or doing a bit of whatever, and then you end up at the Olympics. So it would be a cool story.
Yeah.
And it's funny too because a lot of the sports commission and stuff have shown now that a lot of people are playing esports now instead of playing actual sports.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to go, look, you can actually do both. And it's funny because you might actually make more money in esports nowadays because everyone's watching esports. But so I just don't know how they go about you would be the story rather than the sport, I would suggest. Like hammer throw's been around for ages.
Yeah, true.
And it's not so much like hammer throw's just going to apparently all of a sudden be amazing.
No, and I know.
Unless you used it to like, I don't know, save a life somehow where you rock up.
Kill someone.
Yeah. There's a bank robbery that goes on and there's a kid getting away and you spin the hammer and you nail the car. It's like, oh, well done, he saved the day. So that's the only way I could see hammer throw being amazing.
It's actually funny you mention that because there is a commercial. Like, so in Belarus, there was this guy, Ivan Tikhon, who he got done for doping three times. I think he's got a life ban now, I'm pretty sure. But
twice, 3 times. He's been doing it the whole time.
Anyway, he threw 1 centimeter under the world record. So he was the second best of all time until he got done for doping. But anyway, he was from Belarus, and there was an ad exactly about what you're speaking about right now, about some bloke doing some bank robbery, and then Ivan Tikhon just pulls out his special Polonik is one of the better brands of hammers, pulls out his special brass Polonik and sets it all up and then throws it and it hits the bank robber. I'll have to find it. It is hilarious.
We can just
Sounds
straight
brutal.
knock this off.
Yeah.
Belarus is many years ago. It's we can just re-roll this for sure.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. But yeah, it's
it'd just be. I think it'd be a matter of just finding because the sponsor athlete thing is generally you've got to have what's their outcome.
Yeah, 100%.
So it'd be interesting if there's like I don't know, like, and I don't want to be offensive here, but like if like Manshake, for example, like they got around you and they're like, you're just a normal burly bloke who's trying to get better, and then Manshake went and like sponsored you, and they're like, hey mate, we're going to help you out.
Yeah.
If they give you a fuel card or they do whatever else it is, like even just that, especially with how fuel is nowadays.
Yeah, true.
Like, mate, if APCO are like, we're gonna sponsor. We've put enough money through APCO at the moment. You think they'd come to back us, but
100%.
Like an Australian petrol company is going to pay you to cruise around and do whatever.
That'd be a good one. They're a local company too. Their headquarters are in Geelong. So.
No, I can tell we're all saying APCO now. It's like you're welcome. Yeah, exactly.
I filled up my car with APCO petrol on the way in today.
I always get APCO.
They cut out the middleman. Family-owned business.
That's how it happened, Ned. Remember,
direct to you.
You remember this moment. That's how you got your sponsor.
You look good in blue.
But like AFCO get around. Like if they gave you a fuel card, for example, and then like Monty paid for your cafe.
Monty sponsored. Well, my missus wouldn't be happy because.
Well, neither would we, because Savvy would be upset with you.
Well, I just cracked a savvy. Shout out to Mark Curry, but my missus, she will not be happy because she's banned me from energy drinks.
Has she?
Yeah, apparently they're not good for my heart. Or
No,
something like that, which I would say that they may not be great for my heart, but the nootropics in them. Are great. So,
that's the right way to drink.
Mate, the sponsors.
It's just a different perspective.
The sponsors are looking now. They're like, this bloke, he can sell some stuff. He's like, get around him. But that's the thing. It doesn't need to be one big sponsor or whatever. Like even just a little thing like a fuel card would do so much.
And I'll be honest, like for the longest time, like things have probably changed a little bit now. But when I was like 18 through to 20, I was commuting 4 times a week, whilst working as well. 4 times a week from Geelong to Frankston, to the southeast suburbs, to train. So that's 2 hours. Without traffic, with traffic, probably 3 hours. And I burnt through fuel. Like I was working at Coles at the time. I was stacking shelves. Pretty much 80% of my wage was and this is because I just wanted to get better. 80% of my wage was going into petrol. Like I was lucky that my parents were in a good spot that they could help me out. But so what you're saying about like a fuel card or something like that, something small, like a very small thing, could go such a long way. Like a fuel card would be something huge. Like
it's it's interesting because the way everyone looks at it, they're like, oh, you need to get picked up by Nike, or you need to do this and do that. And you're like, mate, 40 grand over 4 years, basically. And then especially if you had like 3 different companies that just came up and said, look, we can give you a fuel card. We can give you, here's $2,000 for the year or whatever else it is. Like that'd be, and it's funny too, because your return on investment for a punter who literally has got no sponsors and is like just needs a hand. Like I can guarantee you he won't shut up about it, whereas, and that's what I was saying before with like the footy players, they're just like, yeah, well, I'll wear their shoes.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't care.
But that's been watched by millions of people, and it's like
exactly.
And this is like Nike are very strategic, or Puma are very strategic. They're like, who are the best athletes in the world? I'm going to put my brand on you because all the kids that are aspiring to be like that person are going to want to wear those things. So, but for old punter Ned that smokes darts and drinks Coke and
So the Torquay RSL, you reckon?
Shout out to Torquay RSL. Probably not as marketable, but for me, like some kind of a sponsorship, like if I was to be given a fuel card from APCO or something like that, I will never shut up about that kind of thing because it would be such a big thing for me in my career. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's just, it is what it is.
Yep.
It's quite unique as well that you said you haven't even hit sort of your peak age for that sport as well. I don't think there'd be many sports where you could say that.
No.
So to be able to plan a campaign years in advance is like a real advantage.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's why, like, I've been heard about some non-selections and everything like that, and we might get into that a little bit later, but I have always played a bit of a long game. Like, I've accepted, like, there was a bloke who won an Olympic silver medal in the hammer throw, and I think he was 40. So it's not like, oh, you're 26, 27.
So like near death. You can see the way you look at it. He was like 40. Yeah, well, you know what 40's like? Yes, mate, I do.
It's nearly twice my age. So it's like, for me, that's like the oldest thing ever. But like, no.
Literally looking at 2 fossils in the room.
all the people that will sponsor you are in that age category, by the way.
Oh, well, I guess
you missed the part beforehand. We were explaining my hair colour before. He literally sat there and told me it wasn't even salt and pepper, it was just salt.
I just berated you for like 20 minutes. It's been a long time since I've seen you, but so no. so there is that opportunity to like develop in the sport, and it's if I can stay injury free, like I've only ever had one like major, and I wouldn't even say it was major, like a moderate injury in the hammer throw. So I've been very lucky. I may be able to push it out as long as I want to. That's the whole thing. Like it's I guess I'll be limited at some point in my career. Like my age will catch up with me, but I can push it.
So you're good for the next 3 Olympics then, let's say?
Yeah, I don't want to say that, but yeah, maybe the next one. If I could go to one, I think I'd be pretty happy that I could.
LA would be a pretty cool one to
LA would be
attend.
Unreal. Yeah, LA would be. But then 2032 is Brisbane, so home Olympics, but.
You don't really want a home
both of
Olympics
them.
there. I suppose a home crowd would be cool.
Home crowd would be cool, but then I guess like it goes back to what I was saying. Like,
why not do both?
At the start of the podcast, like when I was 12 and I was going to the primary school championships and I went to Bendigo. It's like there's excitement in that. Like no diss on Bendigo, it's a lovely place, but there's no excitement in it. So you're right. Yeah, I don't know. But,
one of each maybe.
We're going to go with the selection.
Yeah, bit of a story to tell.
Yeah, happy to tell
we're
the
going to
story.
go there.
There's no politics in sport.
There's no
No, there wouldn't be. But like we're talking about going to the Olympics and stuff. But like, and even as the national champ of Australia 3 years in a row, what happened with the Commonwealth Games?
Yeah, that one hurt. That one hurt a lot, and it's a horrible segue. But anyway. So it was 2022. The Commonwealth Games were in Birmingham in England, and I was in 2018. Like the way I kind of explained, 2018 home Commonwealth Games. There was a guy I was training with that qualified. Watched a whole lot of people I knew in the athletics world competing at the Commonwealth Games. I'm just like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to do whatever it takes to go there. And then I put a lot of effort in. Like I've been injured just before that Commonwealth Games. So I had surgery on my meniscus, had an arthroscope, so I couldn't even have a crack at qualifying. But I was like, I'm going to go to those to that Commonwealth Games after I'd watched it. So put a lot of training.
Do you want to explain meniscus?
Meniscus, it's like the cartilage in between, like
just a layer between your bones.
Yeah, it's like
knee.
between the bones, and it's like it can wear down. And basically, if you tear it, it's such like a low blood flow area. The cartilage, it doesn't really repair on itself, so you kind of have to have surgery. And the surgery is either they staple it back together or they like shave it back, so they take that damaged part out. So they just took the damaged part out. I was pretty lucky. It was only like 10%, where like if you got up to like 30-40% of your meniscus loss, that's a lot of knee pain. That's like a lot of basketball players and netball players get those injuries because it's high impact on concrete or hard floor surfaces. But anyway, so from that point, I was like, I put a lot of effort into training, and like unfortunately, like in 2018, my PB was like maybe 64 meters, and then it got to 2019. So this was. 2020. So 2 years later, my PB hadn't improved at all. And I was working full time. I was like, just nothing was really working. And I would put so much effort into it and so much care. And I was getting really upset. I was probably getting into a bit of a depression about it. Like I was just training so hard and I wasn't seeing the results. And it was hard. Like I said, I was working at Coles stacking shelves. I was working night shifts. I was depressed as all hell doing that. And then I was getting up, still lugging myself out of bed, traveling up to Frankston to train. And look, credit to my coach at that point. He really kept me in the game there. Like he was really supportive. He's like, you just got to stick this time out, Ned. Like everyone plateaus at some point. But I was probably a bit immature in that way. I was being pretty childish. And I was like, nah, I'm going to throw in the towel. I'm sick of this athletic stuff. I've done it for 7 years. I'm just throwing in the towel. Anyway, got to 2019, changed jobs and everything, and started to care less about the sport in the way that I remember this, like talking to a sports psychologist once about this, and he said what you need to do is like pursue it aggressively but carry it lightly, and that's always stuck in my mind. It's like you work your hardest, but you carry whatever result is lightly because there's always going to be another opportunity to do something. So, and I thought that was like a really powerful thing, and that's always stuck with me. So I actually really changed my mindset about this, and and when I say that, like I would still train hard, but like if I needed to miss a session because I was working, that was something that I kind of started to do. I was like, okay, I can catch this up. It's not the end of the world if I miss this session. I'm going to pursue it as hard as I can when I'm training. But if something doesn't go right, I'm just going to carry it lightly. Anyway, got to 2020, Melbourne Track Classic, and I threw 68.50. So it was like a 4 meter PB, and it was like, all right, we're on here. This is, coming up, 2 years' time, the Commonwealth Games coming up. We're going to make this. And anyway, didn't improve a lot from there. Like, so.
But you're still the Australian champ, though, aren't you?
Yeah. So I went into 2020. Obviously, COVID happened. So that Australian Championships was canned. And then 2021, I won the Australian Championships. And then 2022, won the Australian Championships. But it didn't improve a whole lot over that time. But then it got up to the 20. So I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. I jump around a bit. So sorry for those listening at home. But move forward to the 20. So 2020 had this massive improvement, and I'm trying to explain it in a period of like 2018 to 2022. So it's a long period of time, and a lot happened in that time. So, and just to add in, so 2019, my dad passed away pretty suddenly, and that really hit me hard. And I was probably that was another time I was gonna throw the towel in, because Dad put so much love into this, so much love into me in the form of my sport. Like, he supported me, paid for everything, drove me everywhere, flew to every championship with me. He was always there supporting me. So when I lost Dad, I was like, I can't be bothered with this anymore. But then I kind of realised, my dad would be pretty heartbroken if I wasn't throwing.
I didn't want to go there. I was just going to be like, right, so your dad's done this for you. It's a dream the whole time. You're like, yeah, he's gone, so now I don't care.
Yeah, pretty much. But that was the selfish person in me, just like that was. But I kind of realised I had a sook for a couple of weeks, and then I was like,
sooking's probably justified after your old man passed away.
Well, yeah, I guess so. But if I was sooking, even if my dad, so the funny thing is, my dad saw me sooking, he'd be bullying the fuck out of me. He'd be like, man, the fuck up, grow up. But anyway, so got back on the horse, started training again, and then anyway. So that had happened as well. Got to 2022, threw a PB that season of 69.20, and then won the Australian Championships, then won the Oceania Championships as well. So like Australia, New Zealand, the island nations, won that as well. So I was really I was in a really good spot. And I think I was ranked maybe don't quote me on this, I could be wrong, maybe 18th in the Commonwealth. But at the Commonwealth Games, it wouldn't have been those 18 people. It would have been a lot less, because they can only send a certain amount of people and everything. Anyway, so I was pretty much in the box seat, I reckon, to get a Guernsey. And I'll put it into context. So at the 2018 Commonwealth Games, a guy qualified in the men's hammer throw with a throw of 68 metres from Australia. So I thrown 69 metres. Anyway, I put in my and just as a lead up to that. So in the lead up to that Oceania Championships and everything, I got contacted by the Commonwealth Athletics Australia from the Commonwealth Games Federation kind of thing, saying, yeah, you've been identified as one of the people that are potentially going to be selected. We need you to do this, and this. So it was you need to get these documents sorted. You need to get your passport sorted. Once again, self-funded athlete, I had to go pay $500 for my passport to get it priority to me. So I could send them it saying, yeah, I've got my passport. So I was leaning into it. I was pretty positive and pretty optimistic that I was going to get selected. Anyway, I remember I was sitting at work, and I just got this email from Athletics Australia just going, oh, we've had our selection process and you haven't been selected, sorry. You can appeal it if you want, but it's going to be unlikely. Now, I remember when I got that, I was just kind of saying, oh, whatever. And it didn't really sink in. But then I remember that weekend. So I think I got that email on the Wednesday. And I'm putting in I'm kind of rushing over it, but that was a culmination of 4 years of really hard work, some personal tragedies, a lot of growth, changing careers, and it just culminated in me for that. It's nah, you're not good enough, mate. And I remember I got that email on the Wednesday, and then on the Saturday, I just sunk into probably the deepest kind of, I don't know if you would, I couldn't say I was depressed because I was never diagnosed or anything but I would say I was depressed. I was miserable. I didn't get out of bed for 4 or 5 days. I couldn't fathom how much work I'd put in just for someone just to basically send an email, not even a phone call or anything like that, just an email just saying, yeah, sorry, mate. And it really, I think this is the way I explain it. And after it's, nearly been 4 years now since it happened. Also, it's only been 2 years. So much of hammer throwing through my life has been my identity. It's been like, anyone that would see me at school is like, oh, how's your hammer throwing going? What's going on with your hammer throw? Anyone at work would be like, how's your hammer throwing going? What's going on with your hammer throw? I was known as the hammer thrower and the shot putter and the discus thrower. I was known as the hammer thrower. And it built so much of me growing up. So like I grew up as a, like I said, like I was a chubby little kid in primary school that got picked on for being overweight. And I managed to garner that into something. And that was really quite powerful for me. And then it gave me so much self-confidence and really changed who I was and who I may have been, even now. And I didn't feel like a loser again. I didn't feel like so much of a loser. But then when I got that email and when it really sunk in for me, I was like, oh, fuck, I'm a loser again. I felt miserable. So that was like, I'm talking like the lowest of low points with my athletics. And yeah, I kind of, for a long time, for months after that, I was like, I'm not doing athletics anymore. And I laugh about it now. It was like a genuine toys out the cot moment. It was like I'd spat the dummy. But the more insight I have into actually how I was feeling, I was really depressed and I was really hurt that I didn't qualify for that. And I've since dealt with it and I was able to bounce back. But I think because so much of athletics was my personality and me rising to the occasion and making teams and representing Australia, and sorry, I just smashed the pillow again. But
I've literally been looking at other pillows that I can get there because your elbow's now off the. It's like banging on the table. It like, this bloke.
Sit like this. No, but representing Australia, winning medals, whatever it was, there was so much success in it, and it was like my identity was defined on the success of my athletics, and for me to not meet the mark on something for probably the first time properly really hurt. And
I remember talking to you about it at the time.
Yeah.
And how you were, you talk about how you just won, like you were number one in Australia and stuff. And they're like, oh, so I didn't make it for the Commonwealth. I was like, what do you mean? Yeah, I was like, what do you mean? How did you not make it? It doesn't make any sense to me that you can still be the number one in Australia and you still don't do it.
Yeah.
Like what criteria was it?
So did no one go?
No. Like,
yes, the weird
just
awkward.
Get even worse.
The awkward timeout was because we just worked out that the sands through the hourglass had just disappeared.
Oh,
I reckon it's like 35 minutes.
Okay. Well, we've worked it out.
The least interesting part of this podcast so far has been this
35 minutes.
Yep.
So no, it wasn't that no one went. I think it was a team of 68 athletes. And to put that into context, I think a team of 118 got selected for the 2018 Commonwealth Games. But that was because it was a home Commonwealth Games and they just wanted as many like green and gold jerseys on that track as possible. So it was a smaller team. I can't tell you why. Maybe that was the only amount.
But did anyone go in hammer throw?
No one went in hammer throw. No one went in men's shot put. There's a men's discus thrower, Matt Denny, who is I think he came fourth at this Olympics. He won a medal at maybe one of the most recent World Championships, won one of the Diamond League meets. Like, he's a freak. A couple of javelin throwers went.
That's what was strange when we were talking about it was like he was the number one hammer thrower in Australia, but then it was almost your sport wasn't cool enough to go rather than you didn't make it.
It's like Australasia's already like nearly a quarter of Commonwealth. So like, how could you not get a gig to go to?
And this is probably
or
the thing.
Oceania, sorry. But
So I think the whole point of it is that like it was based off your ranking in the Commonwealth and like your perceived like how they thought you were going to place. Now, the best way I can describe this, every time I've competed in an international final, I've thrown 95% of my PB. So quite high achieving at like I can stand up to pressure. So based on that, I would have probably, if I was to throw my best at the Commonwealth Games, I would have come sixth. So I would have made the top 8, would have made the final. There was a lot of athletes that didn't make that. And that's no criticism on those athletes. Like sometimes you just don't meet the mark on that day. And I may have not have met the mark on that day, but for the potential to come sixth and not get selected, that was the only thing that the rational part of me was like, this doesn't make sense. Now, and like I don't know a lot about the selection policy. I probably should have read a lot more into it. That's on me. But I think that just had I been given that chance, I probably would have shined on that stage.
I think
would have done well.
The public perception for that as well, certainly mine would be that we would send an athlete for every sport to Commonwealth and Olympic Games. So it's quite a shock. I mean, obviously that's not taking funding and stuff into account. But I've just always assumed we filled every spot possible in those sports.
No, it's not the case, unfortunately. But it is what it is. But look, there was some people that did really well. Some people, look, that's sport, unfortunately, sometimes that people just – they don't compete the best. Like there's always someone that's not going to meet the mark and everything. Like I didn't meet the mark for the Commonwealth Games. Like there's someone at those international events that aren't going to meet the mark. And I'm not saying that I would have met the mark, but based on my history, I thought that I may have been able to prove that I would have met that mark at an international final. I don't know. I could be wrong, but might be looking a bit too deeply into it. But I think I'm looking too deeply into it because of how much it hurt and what a dark place I went into.
But it's also a thing where, it's interesting where if somebody gave you a prerequisite that you had to do it and then you ticked all the boxes to then come up.
And you're number one. Like if you're third or fourth in Australia, okay, I was outside. But for the champion to not make the cut, it's very weird.
And having a look at sort of a bit behind the scenes occasionally with like my current work with sport and stuff. But look, there's only a limited amount of funds. So I just wonder if they look at it as a return on investment for your, even if you'd won a gold, if you were likely to win a gold medal, I wonder if they would have been like, yeah, hammer throws the dude, we'll send it. But if you're like top 6 versus our ability to get airtime, it might even be sponsors run, they might be like, hey, look, we don't really care about the throwing events. Like we'll, send more marathon runners because those dudes are there for 3 hours,
Yeah. Look, I don't know. I don't have the answer, but I think people are kind of like screwing their face up like 6th, but like you got to think like 6th. That's the top 8. That's the final. That's like if you think about the top 8 sprinters at the Olympic Games or the Olympic final, like in the 100 meters, that's coming 6th out of them. That's like you've made it to the very end. Like you're a finalist. Like I think so much. And I also think like maybe the average viewer is just like, oh yeah, like you win medals, you're good. It's like well, not necessarily like making a final. Like as a 24-year-old at the time, that would have been huge. Like, but
I mean, the heats need to be filled. I mean, you don't just have 5 people turn up for a sport in the games. You still, not that anyone should be a filler, but you need heats. Like that's the whole event is the process.
But I always thought that the Olympics was you sent the best person from every sport that you could do in your country. That's what I always thought it was.
But it's in track and field or athletics. It's very much like it's whoever qualifies. Like
but see, I always thought that it was like so. If you came from Fiji, and they were like, we're going to do marathon runners, and you're like, they're not known for that.
Yeah,
but if you had
the best one,
the best dude in Fiji was getting a run.
So no, that's the misconception there. So there are some people will see like at the Olympics, like in the swimming, it's like some guy from Eritrea that's like So what?
But how much did everyone love that dude?
100%. Was he from Eritrea?
Equatorial Guinea, I think it was.
Eddie the Eel?
Yeah, Eddie the Eel. But like, I mean, almost drowned or whatever it was. But
but he kind of. Oh.
No, it's not a savvy. Anyway, sorry.
No. So
back to Eddie the Eel.
We're talking about Eddie the Eel before that.
We were trying to be seamless, and you've just literally just.
Why are we trying to be seamless? It sounds
because
ridiculous.
We're professionals.
It sounds ridiculous. So we paused it for a short amount of time.
Restock refreshments.
It wasn't even a short amount of time.
And for the we'll be welcoming the casting couch.
It's been like 35 minutes.
It's been 35 minutes, but we'll be welcoming the casting couch to the next episode. So.
That's very true. We're going to get a group photo on it afterwards.
Yes, we will. We were talking about Eddie the Eel from Equatorial Guinea. Now, so the answer to that question is, so I'll speak on it from athletics. So if you are a nation that like is of a lowest, the best way I can describe it is like if you're a nation of a lower standing that is not going to like send an athlete to the Olympics to make a final or whatever, what that nation can do is send their best athlete in whatever discipline. So for example, like in 2012, Emmanuel Fuamatu represented Samoa in the shot put. And then there was like a female that was in something else. Like I couldn't tell you, but that was their best athlete. So he probably was never going to make the final and he didn't qualify, but he got to go because he was like that nation's best athlete. Does that kind of make sense? Like it's kind of like a token for maybe some.
Yeah, but then it makes it even weirder that, like you wouldn't have someone representing Australia when that's the case.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a perception I think that we've all probably had that every slot is filled in every sport.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's probably that was a hard thing during that time that like everyone's like, oh, you're going to the Commonwealth Games? And I was like, oh, no, I'm not. And then like, oh, why not? You're the best. And then like that was a conversation I was having with like every single person. Like, and I'm not, it's not, no.
Yeah, I did. I was offended for you.
Yeah, 100%. You
I
were.
was like, hang on a minute, aren't you the Australian champ? You're like, yeah. And like, so why aren't you going to the games?
Yeah. And then I had to go through that whole explanation. And no criticism on anyone. Like they cared and they wanted to know how I was doing, and they were genuinely disappointed that I didn't make it. But it's for the average person who's watching it, that's their understanding, and you're right. But it's what I've kind of like painted is like that's what it is. So which was disappointing at the time, very disappointing. But I guess
it's also it's hard to be, like if you've literally been winning everything, and then like it comes to the grand final, and they just go, you know what, your team's actually not allowed in.
Yeah,
like it's not that you lost the grand final, you didn't even get a shot at it.
Yeah,
it's I mean, it's funny because there's a lot of people in the army who would train for like 4 years and then never get a deployment.
Yeah,
and it's pretty similar. You're training for 4 years, and then, but the difference is you actually were winning. You were, you literally had beaten everybody to get to the spot, to earn your spot to go, and then you just weren't there.
Well, it's that old analogy where, you go to footy training on the Wednesday, you'll get the game on the Saturday or the Sunday kind of thing, and then they're just, oh, sorry, we've cancelled the game.
Yeah, exactly. But it's it was one that hurt, and I think probably the reason that it's probably sunk in a bit more for me now is that we don't even know. Like there was the Commonwealth Games was supposed to be in 2026 was supposed to be in Melbourne, or sorry, regional Victoria, but they got canned.
Oh, that's so much worse because it would have been a home game for you.
Yeah, 100%.
It would have been in Geelong, wouldn't it?
Nah, the athletics was supposed to be in Ballarat.
Oh, okay.
So, but still
very.
I could have started in Bendigo and finished in Ballarat.
At least that wasn't in Bendigo.
Close the loop.
That would have been a full circle moment. But
to be fair, I think Bendigo's actually better than Ballarat, isn't it? Oh, okay. The one person from each suburb there that potentially might listen to us
clubs
is going to have a go at us. Yeah.
Might be Shazza from Bendigo and not Rockhampton.
Well, there'd be a Shazza from both of them.
Yeah, 100%. But I don't even know if there's going to be a Commonwealth Games in 2026.
Yeah, we stuffed that up. But.
So, look, I won't go too deep into that, but that's like that's an issue. Like it's there may never be one. There may not be that opportunity. And I think with athletics, there's like also when you watch it on the TV, or there's so many stories of those people that succeed and make it and go to those games and represent Australia and everything. But that may never be a story for me. I've represented Australia at the Oceania Championships, but it's not like something that is on Channel 7 or something. And it may just be that it might be that case that I might never make it. I'd probably need to be able to sit with that. And that was something I kind of probably sat with more recently as I've gotten older. I think I've come to accept that may be the fact that I may not make a team. And I need to be okay with that. And that's, once again, I think that comes back to that pursue aggressively, carry lightly thing that I spoke about with that sports psychologist.
Or, as you've referenced, you're going to have to draw a line in the sand and go part-time and, decide to do it.
100%. Yeah. And look, I don't want to sound like I'm being really defeatist here and I'm like, oh, I've thrown my hands up in the air and I've given up.
Because you are.
I'm still, once again, pursuing that aggressively. But that comes back to that. I guess that's a big philosophy for me, is pursue aggressively, carry lightly, that there is that potential that these things may not happen. And I need to have accepted that. And I think I've spent enough time on that I can accept that.
It's one of those things, though, where they talk about, burn the boats. It's like, would you, if you quit and you're like, no, this is me, I'm doing this for the next 4 years, and that's literally all you've got to fall back on.
So if we send in a resignation letter for him, then he's got to get to the Olympics.
I don't know that we'll need to send it in after he's been on the pod. It'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. But, it's one of those things where you, once you commit, if you've still got a safety net, you don't try as hard.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's a bit different with yours because it's not like if me trying to be a Prime Minister and then doing it part-time is no great. Whereas if I left and then did the full-time thing, like I was traveling, I was doing whatever, I'm like, well, this is the best crack I can have.
Yeah, 100%.
In my situation, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But if I'd stayed in the job, well, for starters, I can't. But if I'd stayed at my old job, it's like I would have been working the whole time, wouldn't have been able to do stuff, wouldn't have been able to put as much in which case I would have half-assed it and then been like, well, I didn't really try anyway. Yeah. Whereas now I'm like, I can put it to bed because I'm like, well, with what I did, I'm happy to say.
I was going to turn this into my podcast for a second. I
did
want to ask you about that. Yep. So when you left your old job and you when you went on your campaign trail, because I followed it pretty closely and, saw you going around to like all crazy areas of regional Victoria, you may not have made that mark, but you still had a really red hot crack at it. And I think you did quite well out of it, in my opinion. I still think you got a lot of votes that there was a lot of people that you probably changed their mind and everything like that and made them vote, made that average person that vote for you. Are you able to put that to bed and be like, when I gave it a red hot crack, or is there some kind of longing for?
Nah, so I'm not upset with my effort, right, and the people that got around me and the support I got with the position I was in. I think I learnt a lot, and I was sort of playing by rules I didn't know that were there.
Yeah,
it's almost like I was playing a game that I didn't know the rules on.
Yeah,
and which is just where people get to have a chuckle about it because they're like, he doesn't even know this bloke.
Yeah,
like people got in without doing anything. Yeah. They were just named on a piece of paper.
Yeah, righto.
And then just due to the fact that they were for one party or another, they got in, right? Yeah. And like you can speak to people who. Their person that's been elected, I guarantee they don't know who it is.
Yeah,
they don't know,
100%.
And they've never spoken to them. They've never heard from them beforehand, and they haven't heard from them since. Right?
Yeah,
plenty of members that have never said anything anywhere because it's a lot easier to not say anything than there is to say something. Like at the moment, politics is a bit of a weird thing where you almost you're better off just not screwing up.
Yeah, right.
So like they're just looking for a reason not to vote for someone.
Yeah, okay.
It's a bit of a weird sort of scenario. Yeah. But so for example, would I say I can put it to bed? If Gina Reinhardt said, "Hey, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start. I'm going to fund you independently." Yeah. Not that you can, because the parties have done some shady shit where I can only get $4,000, but they can get 20 million through their subsidiary funds. But so the rules are different anyway. But so let's assume I had 20 million from Gina, and then I could compete with the two other parties.
Yep.
I would definitely have another crack.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think bang for buck, I think I would have a far better shot than most of these parties because of the access that I would give people, right? Like I would actually be like, well, this is my thought process on why I'm doing this. You can agree or disagree, but I'm going to tell you why I'm making that decision, whereas you don't get that with the two other parties. Yeah. But in answer to your question about it, I'm happy with what I did. Yeah. And I think with the resources that I had, like RV, a lot of people get really upset about the fact we have RV. The fact that I called it the Angry Victorians Party. Like, so those things, like I had to do them because if I wasn't on RV, nobody would have heard of me. So it was either risk getting chastised for it or just never be heard. The Angry Victorians Party, you wouldn't have heard if I was just some other random party. You wouldn't have heard from me. But that came with the, I got airtime with different places because the name was funny, and then when they got to actually speak to me, they're like, "Oh, he's not actually crazy." But if I hadn't have done the name, you wouldn't have heard from me. Yeah. But it came. Both of them came with backlash for those decisions. But I wouldn't have got it because I didn't have the funds. Yeah. Whereas I wouldn't have done either of those two things if I had enough cash that I would have just gone on commercial.
Yeah, righto.
But again, I'm quite happy to put that election to bed because of where I was. So if you do the best with what you've got, then so be it. But so for example, with you, if you don't get a sponsor, right? So you have to still work full time and you still need to do this and do that. If you then don't qualify for the Olympics or whatever, as long as you had the best crack with the situation you were in, then that'd be a thing. But if somebody was like, Ned, we're going to pay you, like a footy player where, like how the suburban teams, they put you on, like you're on the books, like you work here, but you don't work there. But, you get a wage. So like if you had somebody who was paying you a wage, like if you had the option of doing it the way you're doing it now, or if you had the option of full-time being paid and doing it and you didn't take that, I would suggest you would regret that forever because you didn't have the best shot that you had. So if someone gives you an option and you don't take it, I'll say you regret it. But if you don't do that well when you're like, oh, I could have done better if I'd done this. It's like financially you can't actually do it. But if you do have the option of financially doing it and you don't take it because you're like, oh, I've got to, if I don't make it, then do this, then I'd say you'll regret that.
Yeah. And I think the reason I asked that is that like that, I'm in two camps at the moment of like, I'm pretty happy and I can put to bed the non-selection at the Commonwealth Games in 2022. Like I've pretty well put it to bed. Like, I still get emotional every now. Like obviously
you also can't fix that now.
No, I can't 100%. But I think maybe that fear of falling again and that vulnerability I have to go through again of like, like I'm really training hard for this and everything and then going like, oh, I didn't make it, and then being asked by everyone, oh, you didn't make it? What's the story? Oh, why don't you get to represent Australia? Like, you're the best in Australia. Like, that's a hard thing to face again. Now, obviously I could just pick myself up, and I think we might segue into it. Like I did end up picking myself up after that, but I could probably just get the fuck over it and move forward and keep trying. And you know what? I can put it to bed. But I think it's just how much that affected me. And like I will be honest, it did affect me a lot, and it probably sent me into like I said, a dark place where I started drinking a lot. I started, partying a lot, and just enjoying my life like any other guy in his early 20s would. And other parts of my life suffered because of that, but that was just because that's how much it affected me. So I guess that feeling of wanting to be vulnerable again is a hard thing to face.
I think the drama you've had there though is like, when your dream is not based off your ability anymore, because you were number one.
Yeah.
You were the best in your sport, and to then not be selected due to, and look, to be fair, we probably don't know the reasons.
No.
And they probably wouldn't have told you, right? There's probably some real valid reasons, but they just wouldn't 100%. Have told you that because they're like, we've cut this bloke's stream away because, Ventia don't sponsor such and such or whatever. They're like, they'd rather see the hurdles. If you're like, well, I've done everything I can and it's still not up to me. I earned my shot and you still took it off me, then that makes complete sense to turn around and go, well, what's the point of it? If I put in all this effort to then, if you'd put in all that effort and then choked, like that would have been a different sort of upset where you're like, I choked at the time. But that's on you.
Yeah, 100%.
But like this, you literally didn't even get the shot.
Yeah.
So that's a different thing that happens. It's like we have guys that get discharged from the military with injuries, right? Their whole career, they're like, this is me. This is the thing I'm doing. Footy players do a knee on the first season.
Yeah.
Right? Like they all go off the rails.
Or concussion or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's the same thing. If someone's taken your dream away from you, it's not even your fault.
Yeah.
That's a real bitter pill to swallow and really hard to deal with.
Yeah.
Like Derek Rose. I would love to speak to that dude.
Yeah.
Like he was going to be Jordan. He's this and that, right?
Yeah.
He's done his knee like 3 times.
Yeah.
And he's come back each time. I'm pretty sure he's come back again.
Yeah.
But he's obviously never going to be what he was because he's literally like 12 years down the track now.
Yeah,
but
righto. Yeah, of course, yeah.
But most resilient bloke going around and has made himself back into the NBA each time, right? But like if someone else takes your dream away from you when you've done everything that you needed to do, like that's real hard to deal with. And I completely understand why you go off the rail. And then when you say stuff, you're like, I started enjoying my life like normal people. That's not a bad thing. Like if you're like, I was having fun like everybody else. Like that's not terrible. Yeah. And nor should you punish yourself for that.
Yeah.
But if you do want to be a world champ, those people don't enjoy themselves like everyone else.
No, you're right.
And that's why they get to where they are. So it's one of those things where you take a gamble on, you're like, I'm going to lose 4 years of my life of training, not going out with people, doing this, doing that, doing whatever. But the reward you get is legacy.
Yeah.
Whereas what's my legacy at the moment? Like, who knows? I've got funny stories. They're like, I crossed the Simpson in a Delica. Cool story. Like that's an interesting story to talk around a campfire, right? Yeah. I went for politics. Cool story around it.
Your legacy may be the Imposter podcast.
Well, that's the thing. I may not have made. Yeah, I haven't made it yet. Maybe. But the thing is, it's like your goal is a lofty goal, but it's not that. It's really not that far for you. You're already the champ, right? So getting to the Olympics as a goal is already the win, right?
Yeah.
So if that's your goal, there's no issue with whatever happens after that.
Yeah.
If you've given yourself the best shot and you fail, then fuck, hats off to you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I had one very intelligent person, and I won't harp too much more on this, but I had one he was an Olympic hammer thrower from Australia. And
I was hoping you were going to say it was me. I'd said something great.
No, you are a very intelligent person, but not as intelligent as this bloke. No. He represented Australia in the hammer throw. He finished 8th at the Atlanta Olympics, and he's a high school teacher. He was doing this all while being a high school teacher, and he said, like, Ned, you're pretty much like based on like what you need to do, you are 95% of the way there. And he's like, to get there, you probably need to improve your workload by like 40%. He's like, I know it's hard with your work and everything, but you are 95% of the way there. And when I actually like contextualize it like that, it's like, well, I'm getting close. Like, and I may not ever get there, but.
But you're aware that you were number one in Australia for 3 years in a row, yeah.
But once again, this is what I guess the great thing about this about the status song, the line of this podcast is like, I do feel like an imposter. I feel like I put all of that effort in. It's like, oh, maybe I could have done more. Maybe if I wasn't just such an average bloke, like that's who I feel like I am. I do feel like just like an average everyday Aussie bloke who just happens to be good at this sport that I feel it is a bit of a novelty, probably based on the viewership and everything on it. I appreciate that I'm the best in Australia.
Well, I mean, you're also on our podcast, not Joe Rogan. So,
this is true.
And I think that's what it
the wish
seems
version
to
of Joe
be.
Rogan.
it's not your achievement. It's
Wix
that
version.
that sport hasn't had the same light as others have had shone on it.
Yeah,
Because
probably.
other people would have validated that for you, like in another sport.
Yeah, true. But look, I think a lot of other people do validate it. Like people like my work colleagues, friends, family, all of that, they validate it. And they marvel at the achievement and everything. And I really appreciate it. But then again, you're right.
Sorry, I mean more like, the Com Games group or
100%.
sponsors and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, people, I guess they are given that glory and everything like that. I probably just haven't made that mark yet. I've had a lot of success and everything, but I haven't made that mark that I really wanted to get to. So, and that's a hard thing. So, and that's probably where that imposter syndrome comes from, and that I feel like quite an average bloke, etc. Like with the sport I do, but I think that's just on me, and that's just something I need to work through.
I couldn't even make like a rep team at the local, cricket or whatever. So I don't think should be feeling like too
this
much
is
of
the
an
thing
imposter.
though. This is what I would love to have at the Olympics, where you have there's under your seat, bang, you're up.
Yeah,
like every Olympics just to have that one. I can't remember who said it the
Wild
first
card.
time. Yeah, but wild card, like you just have an average punter, right? So it's like
To show.
so every event, like shot put comes up. You're like, cool, all right, E5, you're up, and you just see like some, I mean, you might have some strapping Fijian lad who turns up and actually does all right. In which case you're like,
or Eddie Hall sitting in E5.
yeah.
It's just
Eddie's like, this is here's my chance.
Genuine wild card.
Imagine you see like just one section. There's like all the strongmen are like, oh, it's us today. And then the 1500 meters comes up. And they're like, yes, Eddie Hall, you're now running 1500 meters.
Like most people get a little snapshot maybe of one or two elite sports people in their life, but I don't know what would I probably throw that hammer? I might not even be able to spin and do it, but it might get 15 or 20 meters. Like the scale of difference in skill and athleticism is enormous.
Oh, it is
at that level.
It's like technique, skill, power, athleticism. That's a huge part of the sport. And look, if I was to give you an answer, I'd say anywhere from 15 to 30 meters is what the average
Assuming
bloke would
that we got it the right direction.
Well, yeah.
Correct.
And I could probably only do a half spin, otherwise you'd risk it going backwards and stuff.
We're both going to do a meniscus when we try and do it with him.
You guys are more than welcome to come one training session.
Yeah, we will.
We'll have a crack. But yeah.
It's local,
or,
you do one. You've got a local place. We don't have to go to Frankston, do we?
No. Well, the local place is. Well, actually, there is a place very close by that we could do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
make a good reel.
Yeah.
We'll have to have 360 degree.
No, I'm not
Protection.
I'm not standing in the cage.
Well, this place doesn't have a cage.
Oh no.
Oh,
It's,
it's even better.
just a concrete slab.
Man, I got cracked
paddock.
by a baseball bat when somebody was playing T-ball and they whacked it and then threw the bat. I got nailed with that. I don't need a hammer.
That's like the typical movie accident.
Yeah,
the
but it's a real
typical
thing.
Baseball movie accident.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get around that. We'll get Fedora down as well.
100%.
It's like it'd be like chicken hammer throw. Who can stay around the circle?
Yeah. Except it's funny because that'll be a thing where it's actually riskier with us doing it than when Netherly does it.
Yeah.
Like we're more likely to die if Netherly does it
Well,
wrong.
we'll stand on the 69.8 meter line and
But not
see
just
if
that.
you can throw a
I reckon we spin. We'll have like little girly hands and it'll just come out.
Oh yeah.
That won't even be us accidentally doing it the wrong way. It'll literally just be because of our little girly hands. But or I'll smack up my shin. It'll be like nunchucks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like any time you grab nunchucks and you just like everybody just injures
I
themselves.
thought it would have been a solid
Do you have one in your
handle,
boot?
but it's a cable.
No,
is it?
I don't. I actually just put them up in my
Oh, really?
shed today. I just hung them all up again because they were making a lot of noise in my car.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sounds like someone that's retired, not
Yeah,
training for the Olympics.
No, it's
I've hung it up.
It's off season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all right. Well, we're at an hour.
Yeah.
Do you are you happy to keep going or?
Oh, I don't mind.
I was just going to go with what's your highlight so far?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Way to stall. Just run with. What is it?
No. I was actually thinking about this when I was coming onto this podcast because I felt like that may be a question. But
You thought you'd bang the table while you explained yourself as well.
I could say going to the Youth Olympics and having a packed stadium in China and throwing a 4-meter PB there, or going to the
This is such a flex. This is the answer. I could say that. However, I also did this.
competing at the World Under-18 Championships and finishing third and getting a bronze medal, and Sergei Bubka, the former world record holder in the pole vault, who's like the president of the World Athletics.
Pole vault, do you used to do high jump?
Pardon?
Don't worry.
A man that anyway, I won't dive too it.
I'm getting Steve Hooker on this podcast, by the way.
I could say that. I could say winning my first Australian title, but I don't think any of them quite amount to the most recent achievement, which was 2023. So last year, the Victorian Championships. So like I said, I kind of threw my toys out the cot after the Commonwealth Games, and it got to I reckon December of 2022, and I said, all right, I've got to have a crack at this again. Like, I can't not do this because I can't be, how old was I at the time? 24? Yeah, 24. 24 going on 25. I cannot just throw it in just because I didn't get one selection. That's like genuine dropping the bottom, dropping the bottom lip. And I would know, going back to my old man would be crucifying me if I was acting like this. So I picked myself up, dusted myself off, and then started training. So I had about 8 weeks to go to the state championships, the Victorian championships. Started training a bit, and it was like 2 or 3 sessions a week, just easing back into it. Just steadily got a little bit more training in. But I walked into that state championships probably feeling a bit underdone. And walked out there, had a couple of good throws, and I got to the last throw, and I went in there and I just went, let's just give it your all on this throw. At this point, before this throw, I was like, I'm not going to the national championships. Can't be bothered. Got other shit to do. I go into that cage and throw a PB. And that was off 8 weeks training. And the feeling that I had after that, the emotion after everything that had happened over the last 12 months, the last 5 years, it just felt like that weight just went off my shoulders. And it's like, you know what, Ned, you've just done 8 weeks of training, not a lot, and you've managed to throw a PB, the best throw ever. So you probably have a lot more to give to this sport. And I think I would say that that's the best moment in my career, because after everything that had happened and after all the defeatist attitude I had and all the issues I had, I was able to bounce back and show myself that I definitely have a lot more to give to this sport. And I think it's, even saying that to myself now, gives me hope after probably the last hour or so that I've been talking to you guys. I've been kind of like, oh yeah, maybe. When I tell myself,
you've been a bit of a sort. Yeah.
I've tried to be open and honest. That's what I've tried to do. I've been every time I tell that story, and the way I've just told it then actually probably resonated with me just as I was saying it, is that I can prove to myself that I am able and I am worthy of going further with this sport.
I find it funny that you think you owe it to the sport. Like when you say it, you're like, oh, it proved to me that I've got more to give to the sport.
Yeah.
Not that there's more left in you.
Yeah.
And that, you're doing it for your old man, you're doing it for this, you're doing it for that. It's like, but literally it's for you.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're not, hammer throw could, like, mate, you stop tomorrow, hammer throw gives a shit about you.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, they could care less. It's literally, you've still got fire in you.
Yeah.
You've still got a dream. It's the history between you and your old man going to training where he told you to spin faster, throw harder.
Yeah, correct.
Which literally, I don't know why you need a coach. Like that's all you've ever needed to
get a little bit lower on the spin.
You're not first, you're last.
Yeah.
Spin faster, throw harder.
Yeah. It's put
you don't win silver, you lose gold.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's, mate, Al and I'll tell you all we can I'll just tell you to spin faster and throw harder every time if you want. But like it's literally about you being able to achieve more. Like you literally were number one and then threw in the towel, but then you realise you're like, what am I doing? But you're also well entitled to throw in the towel every now and then.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, not everybody wins all the time. And if everything was easier to you, it wouldn't be worth anything to you.
Yeah.
Like I've seen dudes that I grew up with that were amazing at certain sports, and it meant nothing to them because they never had to try.
Yeah.
Whereas like you're still number one, but you don't feel like you're number one.
Yeah.
So it's like when they say, the wolf coming up the hill is always hungrier than the one on the top, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, but you still feel like you're climbing the hill, even though you've been number one this whole time, because you're chasing something else, which is higher than that. And like, I can guarantee you, if you don't have a crack, you are going to absolutely hate yourself.
Yeah, and you're right.
Yeah. So I'm like, let's stop fucking around. Just do it. Like,
start training tomorrow.
Yeah. But
we're Rocky montage.
We can run this campaign on Talladega Nights quotes, I reckon.
Yeah.
Just standing behind the cage.
Yeah. Again, that'll be part of our movie club that we're starting up of movies that young people have missed.
Yeah, well, yes.
It's
Please tell me that you know
I've seen
that
half the
reference.
Talladega.
Oh, he hasn't seen the whole thing. Oh, you know what we should do? Put a cougar in his car.
I don't even know what's going on right now.
So there's a cage and we can put a cougar in it. You're going to throw world records every time.
No, there's a bar in Geelong that sounds very much like a cougar in a cage. The old grabby granny.
Yes.
The old wheelbarrow or whatever it is. Anyway, moving on. But yeah, man, like if you're like, it's 4 years, LA, and then obviously see how you go from that and do whatever. Like, I mean, you know, at some point you've got another career and stuff that you want to get involved in. So like they're both obviously longevity and that sort of stuff. But, you know, like I don't think until you can put that to bed because you had another crack, like because you didn't get, you know, like not being selected for the Commonwealth Games, it's like that's not your fault. That wasn't on you.
No.
Yeah, like you go to the Olympics and choke, so be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that lights a fire in you and you want to go again, good.
Yeah.
If you're like, you know what, it didn't mean as much to me as I thought. I got there, I did all the work, and I've got other stuff I want to achieve, also fine.
Yeah, and I think that's what I love about individual sport. Like, I can throw the towel in tomorrow if I really want to, but it's my passion for the sport, and it's not like team sport where it's like, oh, I feel like I'm letting the team down if I give up. It's like, no. Like I said, like I feel like I owe this sport more. Like, yes, I owe it to myself, but I also do genuinely feel like I owe this sport a little bit more because of everything it's done for me.
Well, I mean, just with that, like we were talking before about where you've been. Like, where have you actually been with this sport? Because it's funny to say that hammer throw is like nobody knows about it and all this sort of stuff, but you've actually still done some cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I went to China, spent 3 weeks in China, that was an eye opener for me as a 16-year-old. I went to Colombia. I would have never gone to South America at all, and you know, Colombia.
Caruana will take you.
Pardon?
You guys should do a South American trip. You and Caruana, just revisit, see if you're still massive over there.
Yeah, wow.
Wear your tracksuits.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, do you still have your tracksuit?
Yeah.
You're a big kid too. Does it fit you?
Well, I've gotten bigger since. Punched out a bit, but no, I've still got my tracksuits. I gave a lot of my tracksuit stuff away to like junior athletes and everything, but I've still got my singlets, and I think I've still got a couple of tracksuit jackets and everything. But they're not for the international Tai Chi championships. So,
So Colombia, China,
Poland.
What did you do in Poland? Germany.
World Under 20 Championships. Germany was the Mannheim International Junior Gala, where I won that actually, that was pretty cool.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm tapping the table. I'm going to slice my hand off. When I was 14. I went to England, Scotland, and Wales, as well as the Isle of Man and Austria, and went there for like 8 weeks.
Mate, for a sport that nobody knows about, it's doing all right for you.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I funded all. Not my parents have funded all of that for me. But
so, is there any kind of was there any chop out for you from any sort of sporting?
Well, I did the Australian government gives out like $500 grants to junior sports people for like you have to like meet some certain criteria. So it's not like
you just can't give it to everyone.
Not like the D grade basketball team in the Geelong Basketball Association, but
I've paid my own way, so I don't know where you're throwing shade. And it was Div 7. So.
Div 7, yeah, correct. But they can give you like $500 grants, but I will get that like once a year. I was very lucky for the World Under 20 Championships. I wanted my coach to go over with me, and we managed to raise enough money for him to go as well as for me to go. So
how'd you do that though?
That was through like a local Lions club, like trivia night and everything. But Dad organised all of that for me, and they were fantastic. The local Lions club for getting that done. And then other than that, not really. Not I can think off the top of my head. If I've forgotten anyone, I'm sorry if you've donated something and I forgot about you. But that's about all I can really remember that like I've got from handouts and everything, other than prize money won. But prize money won's prize money lost on flights and accommodation.
So what's next for the old? So let's assume that you're going to be at the Olympics.
Yep.
2028.
Yeah.
What's that look like for you? Like starting today, if you're looking at the Olympics, what do you need to do?
It's just training, competing. So it would probably be on about a 3. Like I'd be looking at it's like a 4-year plan, but it's like I would break that down in probably a yearly plan. So next year, like I would go for state championships, national championships.
Right. So 2028, what do you want to be throwing? Obviously, you want a world record, but
I'll be 30. No. If I could throw 75 meters, that would be unreal. And that's no guarantee that I go to
That's
the
what the
Olympics.
Cougars
with that.
for.
Well, yeah, the cook, yeah.
How far are you up?
Yeah, he's gonna have to watch the video now.
It's going to be sink or swim with this Cougar.
Oh, mate, Talladega Nights is great. You'll love it. So 2028, you want to be throwing 75 meters.
Yeah.
What are you now? 69.
69.20.
Yeah.
69.44.
Yeah.
And like,
Do you reckon you could throw that? Like, if we went out tomorrow, do you reckon you could throw that?
Oh, no. Okay. I'd need probably to get up to that. I probably need another 8 to 12 weeks of training, but that's it's not a lot. But that's kind of be throwing there or there around, like or there or thereabouts. Sorry. But like I've thrown 72 roughly. I'm pretty sure in training. So
with 75, like how much work is 75 from 69?
it's a bit. It's a bit.
But in 4 years, like is a meter a year doable?
Yeah, probably.
I feel like this is going to be one of those movies where I need to say it again. Say it louder. I mean, maybe.
Shia LaBeouf, like that video of him is like just do it.
You mean like every outro that we have on our podcast? Really? Yeah. Wait.
I never make it to the outro. Once you get to like close to an outro, I just switch off podcast.
You see, this is what I told Fedora. He was telling me off
Or
about.
did he mention that because he heard it in the car on the way here today and it's been supplanted?
I don't know. Maybe.
Because it's a very random reference to have just come up.
I don't know. Just do
I
it.
was watching
Is
the
synonymous with him.
have you seen like the Shia LaBeouf orchestra bit?
No.
I'll show it. I'll show you it after. It's good. It's funny.
This is where people are switching off on the podcast.
Just do it. Spin faster, throw harder.
Before we had our first break, but anyway.
Spin harder, throw harder. Just be better.
Yeah, pretty much.
And play our outro.
Yeah.
Constantly through your
Lift
training.
more weights, eat more food.
Right.
spin
So
harder.
2028, you want to be certain 75. You got to start. So like, do you need to be in a comp by the end of the year?
Nah. I could literally.
It's actually really easy to get to the Olympics. I don't know what everyone's talking about.
No. But like the thing
Should we start training and just try?
Well, this is what I mean. If it's not that hard, I'm doing it.
I mean,
Well,
you
guys
could probably
can
throw
beat
it
Masters if you
60
want to.
metres now.
I reckon I could throw 60 now.
Do you want to go out and do it?
You don't have it with you because you've hung them up. Remember, you gave up. You big sook.
I'll see you tomorrow.
No, but legitimately, we'll go. I mean, do you want to throw this weekend?
I've got to work this weekend.
Righto. Well, you let me know
Work it out.
when we're going to do it next weekend.
You name a time and a place. It's not this weekend, and I'll be there.
For starters, I don't know where I can throw, and I don't have them. So time and place is more on you.
Oh, we've got a paddock just nearby, so.
Yeah, I know we do archery out there. I mean, no, we don't. No, but so right. So like, when's your next competition?
I don't have one at the moment.
You're killing me. All
I'm
right.
sorry.
Yeah, you kill. All right. Well, this is
We'll just ring in and get the Olympics bumped to 2029 and we'll
we'll put it back one.
Yeah. No, like, look, the thing is that it is a slow burn. It's a slow burn.
Right. So from here,
It
right?
is.
All right. You're well aware of what happens on this show where we challenge people to do stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So either you start piping up with some competition that you've got to jump into, or you're doing a calendar with Carolina. I don't know which one you prefer. What competition can you enter?
Well, like, okay, if I'm looking at it right now,
Yes.
I could probably, if I wanted to do some competitions next year, sorry, I'm just, watch is buzzing at me. If I wanted to do some competitions next year, all right, so what is it next year, 2025, I could do Victorian Championships, because the thing is, the athletics season starts in about October.
Right. So what can we register for?
But there's
In
no
October.
Point. Honestly, there's no point competing in October because there's nothing of note in competition, like competition-wise. So February next year, there's the Victorian Championships. March, April, so kind of just before Easter, there's the Australian Championships. The Oceania Championships won't be next year because they were this year. I could, if I wanted to, I could go over to LA and do the Mount Sac Relays. That's a competition overseas. It would be like quite, if I could throw well there, that would be like a good confidence boost. I qualified. I'd have to probably be throwing around 69, 70 again. There's the Halle, which is in Germany, HALLE, is a competition where like all the best of the best in the world compete. I could probably try and enter myself in there and compete there. I'm just trying to think of other big competitions that I could enter.
So
Go across the US and compete in the US. I can compete in Europe.
if you compete in October, is that detrimental to you?
Not necessarily, but I like to start in February. That's just my normal thing, and it seemed to have been tried and tested and worked for me in terms of throwing PBs. Not in terms of qualifying for teams, but
Oh,
Throwing TVs.
right. All right. Well, Alan and I are going to do a competition in October because you're not interested in going.
Well, we're going to win because the reigning champ's not even starting till February.
Well, if you want to have a competition,
Yeah.
you guys
I'm going to throw 6.9 meters and I'm going to win.
Yeah. I'm just going to drop it. Right. So when's your next competition? Call it out now. Which one are you doing? Do you want some thinking music? Because
This is outro music, isn't it?
it fucking will be in a minute if you don't bloody... This has been the most challenging... Yeah, this is a challenge for me and Al to maintain this bloody podcast whilst we're trying to give you a... Mate, you go, in February, I'm doing this.
Okay.
All right?
In February, I'm going to do the state. In February 2025, I'll do the state championships and hopefully win my 11th state title.
Oh, thank fuck for that. See you later.
Just do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? Just do it. Simple.